again. So let's talk about the conjunction between the Sun and Saturn in the natal chart today. So when we have a conjunction, we have two planets, that means two parts of the personality, that are acting in tandem with each other. They're acting in conjunction with each other. So the sun is our vitality, it's our solar power, it's the energy that really powers the whole personality, how we want to be seen and appreciated, and the kind of applause that we want. It's our own brand of creativity. And Saturn is our expectation of ourselves. It's our the bar that we measure ourselves against. And often Saturn, which is the active way that we will achieve our idea of ourselves, often what lies behind those Saturn ideas are the expectations of our parents or the figures who raised us. So it's always good to look at what those Saturn expectations are. What is it that we are expecting of ourselves? Whose voice is it that we hear when we are measuring ourselves against that bar and often coming up short? So the sun is a lot of what we want to be, and Saturn is what we think we should be. So when these two things are fused together, we have somebody that has a lot of expectations of themselves. And Saturn has this way of confining the sun, the solar power, the creativity, and directing it. So we see a more conservative personality. We can have other things going on, and we likely will in most charts, but we're talking about one aspect alone in isolation in these videos. The chart is very complex, I understand that. So having Saturn and the sun together makes it harder for that the solar power to shine in a free, unfettered way. Because Saturn is very much like a shell, like a concrete dome that we would put over the sun. And there would be some amount of light shining through, but it would reduce the amount of energy that was coming out off of that sun. So there's like a wet blanket or a shell or some kind of framework that is keeping things in check with this particular conjunction. So it can be an inhibiting combination of planets. Oftentimes, people have such high expectations of themselves that they don't play. They don't enjoy themselves. They don't take time out. They don't take time off. And the idea of credibility is huge with people with this, all Sun Saturn aspects. Credibility is going to be huge. With the conjunction, they see themselves as credible and always have, as mature, able, capable, and so they want to keep that credit going. So they try very hard. They work very hard. There's a very responsible, conscientious side to the personality with this particular conjunction. And they need to learn to take time out, to take time off, to have a Neptunian break once in a while, because that does make us enjoy our work. It makes us feel that, we can pick up life again and not feel so overwhelmed, to rest. So learning to rest, learning to retreat, that's a big thing with people with this conjunction, because it often doesn't occur to them. They're working so hard so they can do that eventually. Eventually they can earn enough points, enough money, enough of whatever it is they think they need to earn in order to get to vacation or retreat. And we have to learn to stop and smell the roses while the roses are blooming, not eventually. When we eventually make it to the rose garden in the sky, we need to remember to enjoy what life has to offer, to enjoy the fruits of our labor right here, right now. So the serious-minded nature of this aspect does make people, very good bosses, very good employees. They are not the most visionary people who have this conjunction, and of course who can have other things going on, like say an aspect to Jupiter or Uranus. Yes, I understand that. I'm talking about one thing. This is not a visionary conjunction, because Saturn is where we look at the bones of things, we look at the actuality of things, and take into account the actual cost and the resources and the time. And so there isn't a lot of unfettered optimism. Actually, there isn't any with this particular conjunction. They tend to look more at the bleaker side of things, the glass half empty rather than half full. And oftentimes they come from a background where they had to work very hard for what they got. That they felt that there weren't a lot of luxuries, nothing was really handed to them, and so this very strong belief in hard work and earning and doing one's part, that can be too much with this particular conjunction. Again, we're learning to relax, we're learning to play, we're learning to dance. The conjunction is a very heavy aspect to deal with. People often feel like they're eventually going to earn that right to dance or to let their hair down, and we have to acknowledge what we've done now. We have to acknowledge how far we've come now, not later, because these people are such hard workers, and they are reliable, and they want to be acknowledged for that. That's a lot of what the identity is tied to, is credibility, reliability, maturity, the ability to come through in any situation. So regressing is often in order, because the maturity is always there. They were born mature, and oftentimes played with older children or people who were not on their own level, that they felt that they were actually stepping up to the level of someone above them. So self-respect is a huge thing for people with Sun, Saturn aspects. And we act in a way that, with the conjunction, we act in a way that garners self-respect pretty easily. There's a very methodical way that these people approach most situations. And the self-image is also very much tied to following the rules, doing the right thing, being regular, being reliable. And that issue of credibility has some very real world results, because although people that have this conjunction may not always have a lot of money, they typically do have a lot of credit. So there's a lot of good things that can come with this conjunction. Some things can also be a bit difficult, such as enjoying the looser side of life, or really discovering one's personal freedom. And the Sun conjunct to Saturn also doesn't lend itself towards extroversion. There tends to be more of a reserved way that people share their opinions or engage in circle of friends or conversation. They'll often hold back their own ideas or their own view. And when they do let you in on what they think, it is rather fixed. So it's not that there's a flexibility in how they are. That's not the reason for their holding back or their lack of engagement. It's more that they are confident or already secure in their views or their opinions. So there's not so much the need to engage. So it is an authoritative conjunction. And once again, that assumption of authority does stem from inferiority. But if somebody can really get a hold of that and can really, figure out where that drive, that need to succeed, that push is really coming from, and examine what their own standard is, what the bar is that they're measuring themselves against, and they can find that their life can be much more of their own choosing, much more self-directed, and not so much directed by the shoulds and our fears and outside expectations, or even the voice of our parents. So there can be a lot of finding one's freedom as people mature with this particular conjunction. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com, other social media, Facebook, Instagram at Truth and Aspect Astrology. I do have a few courses currently open. The first part of the Astrology 101 course is full, but part 2 just opened for registration. And my Synastry beginner course, part 1, 2, and 3 have opened for registration. That will fill up very quickly, so I encourage you to get your slot soon. And I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye.